I have the only 24 karat Labubu. If you're not on social media, that's like a trending sound. What came to my mind. But I have one more session left of the Cure microinfusion system. I did a collab video probably a year ago or so. At the time, I understood that you're supposed to use it every 4 weeks. So I did a couple sessions and then I kind of fell off. Like for me, it is very hard to be consistent. So remembering to do this every 4 weeks, I just kind of fell off. And then recently I've been hyper focused on skincare and figuring out what I can do at home to fix things like fine lines and wrinkles without actually having to go to the med spa. A lot of people are doing microneedling at home using Dr. Pen, which is intriguing me. But that led me to remember that I have the Cure microinfusion system. So today I wanted to do my last session as well as talk about the difference between microneedling and microinfusion. Microneedling usually you do in office because it's something that you really don't want to screw up if you are to do it yourself. Like you really want to have knowledge of what it is that you're doing when it comes to microneedling, but basically what you're doing is creating controlled injury to the skin, which in turn kind of creates a trauma healing response in the skin, which therefore produces more collagen. And this whole process from like start to finish takes a couple of weeks, which is why they do microneedling every like 4 to 6 weeks. You need to know skin depth, the needles, everything. Like it's like a whole thing. You know, obviously sanitation is probably the biggest one because you can create infection because you are going into the deeper layers of the skin. So much can go wrong. So much can go wrong. So it's not one of those things you're like, oh, I saw this online, let me try it at home. It's definitely not. You really want to know what you're doing. Like you have to be licensed to perform this in office. Like it's that serious. Microinfusion is a system that they created for at-home use, which is so much more user-friendly. And one thing to know about at-home devices is they're not as strong as in-office devices. So this you can use every 2 weeks. I used it every 4 weeks because that's what I thought at the time. I don't know where I read it or what happened, miscommunication. But this you can use every 2 weeks. Some brands, because I do have another brand that I bought because I'm like really into it. I'm gonna go through like all the different brands that I know of right now in a separate video, but some brands you can use it every 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks. And again, there are so many out there nowadays. I feel like this was definitely the pioneer when it came to microinfusion. But basically what it is you get these sterile needle heads. It has to be sterile. They usually come in little pouches like this so that they're not exposed to contaminants, the air, all of that. This is one from another brand that I got. If it's not sterile needle heads, that's already a red flag right there. And each brand kind of does it a little bit differently. This one has 24 karat gold plated hollow needles. And the reason why it's hollow is because what you do is you have this little bottle right here. This you do reuse, and they provide you with however many serums. You can choose like a 1 month supply, 2 month supply, 3 month supply. What that means is basically how many sessions you are getting. These are the serums right here. They do have a cap because again, everything kind of has to be sterile. This is basically the skincare solution that you are going to be injecting into the upper layers of the skin. So you're going to pour this into this vial here. You're going to open your sterile needle head. You're going to put it on top, flip it upside down so that the serum can actually flow into these needle heads. So these needle heads are hollow because you need the serum to be able to flow into it. If you use your own serum and it's too thick, it might not be able to go through. And I will say Cure did develop some pretty good serums. This is the one for dark spots. They also have one for fine lines and wrinkles. It's a blue tint, I think because of copper peptides. Those usually have a natural blue tint to them, which has been studied for anti-aging properties. I think it also has beta glucan, which is really great for anti-aging. So overall, pretty good serums when it comes to the Cure system, but you can choose between the two or you can do a mix. Once it's had time to kind of flow into the needle heads, you take off the cap and then you start stamping the skin. So it's basically a stamping system, and the depth is very controlled. So Cure system has 0.5 millimeter needle depth. Most microinfusion systems have 0.25 millimeter depth, which will just reach the upper layers of the skin, the epidermis. You're only getting into the upper layers of the skin. You're not getting into the dermis where true collagen production actually takes place. You're not creating those controlled trauma injuries to the skin to therefore induce collagen production, but you are getting your skincare deeper than just surface level. It is going to make a difference in your skin compared to just patting it onto your skin as is and going about your day. But it's not going to go as deep as actual in-office microneedling. But being a 0.5 millimeter depth, you're still getting, you know, pretty decent penetration. The only downside is it's not going to be very uniform because it all depends on how much pressure you are applying. So obviously with human hand pressure, there's a lot of wiggle room for non-uniformity, like whereas with a pen, it's a lot more consistent actually. You're getting kind of a very controlled depth, and you can, you know, change the depth on the pen, things like that. Whereas with this, it just relies on you and how much pressure you're actually applying. So you do want to make sure you're applying equal pressure. Very little to no downtime. My skin is usually red for an hour or two, and this is someone that has very sensitive skin. After about an hour or two, it looks like I didn't do anything at all. The next day, the skin looks very glowy because obviously, you know, you created little injuries in the skin. So it is almost like a inflammation response. It's going to look a little bit more plump. And then the next couple of days, I start to see dryness. So that's where the skin is kind of starting to like heal itself. By 5 days, I feel like my skin is back to normal. You can do a session a week after or 2 weeks after, and you can keep doing this. And I think it's an amazing thing to be able to do at home because there's so much less room for user error. It's very user friendly, and you're going a little bit deeper than just topical. So I love the concept of microinfusion. I think if you love at-home treatments and things like that are on the safer side, this really is a really great thing to have. Now that I talked through all of that, just so you guys can understand, because I know when I first kind of got it, I read about it and I understood it a little bit, but now that I'm a little bit more obsessed with skincare, I feel like I understand it way more, and I love it a lot more than when I initially tried it, because now I understand what it's actually doing and how beneficial it can be for the skin. You always want to make sure you're starting off with clean, dry skin. I did actually take isopropyl alcohol and kind of wiped my skin just to make sure it's very clean. You don't have to, because isopropyl alcohol can be very drying. They do have a mist that comes with this. I used it all up. It was like a hypochlorous acid that can help with bacteria, but I used that all up, so I just used a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and swiped it across my face. You do obviously want to make sure your hands are clean. I did touch the top of this, so I'm going to use some alcohol just to kind of wipe it. This is the vial that you reuse. You reuse this, so you're supposed to wash it out after each use, which is a little bit tricky because, you know, you want things to be sterile. Even though the needle head is sterile, you still want everything else to be kind of sterile because you are going a little bit deeper than just surface level. So you do want to make sure you don't have like all these liquids and stuff and dirt and whatever, you know, you want to keep it sanitary. Once you're ready, go ahead and pop the top off of the serum. This one can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes the metal breaks and then I can't get it to open. This was pretty easy. It is sharp, so be careful. And then you take off this stopper. One thing I wanted to note is that I feel like a whole vial of this is actually too much for my skin. So I only do about 75%, maybe even like 60%, and I leave the rest for the consecutive days to apply on top of my skin as skincare. So I'm not going to pour the entire thing into here. I'm going to do about 75%. Putting this top back on, and then I'm going to use this the consecutive days after treatment. Grab your needle head. Huge plus that it's 0.5 millimeters. It's very hard to come by 0.5 millimeter needle heads, I will say. Usually most brands have 0.25 like I mentioned, and I love that these are 0.5 because they go a little bit deeper than the 0.25. Leave the cap on. Don't unscrew it, but pop this on. You can, obviously, like I said, use your own serums if you wanted to, but the thing with that is you want it to be the right consistency, because if it's not the right consistency, it's not going to flow through the hollow needles, and you also want a good formulation. But again, I do feel like they did a good job formulating these serums. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this upside down and let it sit for a couple minutes to allow that serum to get into those hollow needles. Once you're ready, take off the cap, and you can stamp away. These are the needle heads. Very fine, finer than a hair strand. You do feel them. It's kind of like a weird sensation. I don't love how it feels on the skin. I don't love stamping it, but it is what it is. The needles are so fine that it's really not that big of a deal. It's just a weird sensation, that's all. So because of this, you don't need lidocaine with Dr. Pen and other microneedling pens. They usually use numbing cream, lidocaine, because that's a little bit more painful. Some people go without the lidocaine. God bless you. And as for where you start, you can honestly start wherever. I'm gonna start right here. And when you're stamping, you want to make sure you're overlapping each stamp by 50%. Make sure you're not stamping any areas that have breakouts or anything like that. So any breakouts that I have, I'm not going to use this on. Active acne, things like that, avoid those areas. And then I'm not going to go like too close to the eye area. I am going to do my crow's feet because this for me is a pretty big concern, even though the serum is targeted more towards dark spots, which this has, I believe, tranexamic acid, which is amazing for dark spots. So again, great formulations overall, but all you do is stamp, stamp, stamp. Pretty painless and pretty comfortable. If you feel like your serum is not going through, like right now I'm feeling the serum is not going through, I just give it a little bit of a shake, and then I'm going to hold it down to allow it to flow through and continue, and usually that kind of does the trick. Sorry, I'm looking this way because I have a mirror here and you can see the serum is coming out. If you've ever gotten Botox or neuromodulators, this reminds me of that same pop that you feel when they like inject your skin with the needle. I get like this crackling sound. This is what it reminds me of, and I don't love it. It kind of like weirds me out. But other than that, to me it's really not painful at all. Here where I have the dark spots, they're like sunspots. The older I get, the more I'm seeing my skin finally reveal all the bad decisions that I've made in my younger years, like not wearing sunscreen, tanning beds, multiple burns, especially as someone that has very light skin tone. It's starting to show up finally. And it sucks now that I'm in my early 30s. I was gonna say mid 30s. We're getting there, guys. I'm gonna be 34 in like less than a month. But I'm starting to see the sunspots come out right here. And so this is where I kind of go over a little bit more. So if you are in your 20s, it's true what they say, take care of your skin while you're in your 20s, because it starts to show up later. Like you don't see it at first, but as you lose collagen, elastin, and everything else, all the bad decisions, it takes time for them to show up in your skin. So take care of your skin at an early age. I feel like it will make a world of a difference. But do you see how my skin has like that pinkness to it? I feel like that's as far, even with microneedling, this is kind of what you look for. I think it's called erythema, almost like a sunburn. You don't really want to get any blood spots. You might get some, like sometimes on my nose has a very, very thin skin. So sometimes right here I'll get like a few needle pokes with some blood spots on it. I feel like the lips are the worst because this is such thin skin and I feel everything. Last but not least, we're gonna do the neck. I have some serum left over, which I'm gonna just use all over my face. This needle head you dispose of, you do not reuse it. Even if you rub it in alcohol, put it in alcohol, there are issues that can arise, so you do not want to reuse the needle heads. Get rid of them. As tempting as it is, don't reuse it. This I'm going to pour into my palm, and I'm gonna pat this into the skin. I'm actually going to apply some hyaluronic acid. I got these on Amazon and I love these so much. If you have dry skin, these are amazing just in general. I've come to really love them. I've used almost all of them up. I'm going to buy some more 100%, but these are single use, kind of sterilized, which I love. So I'm going to use one all over my face while my skin is like fresh from microneedling. This is kind of like a skin booster, if you will, and it's basically sterile hyaluronic acid, so you're safe to use this on the skin without running into any issues, so long as everything is nice and clean. I'll link these down below because they are just so good. I need to buy some more, but I love them. I see such a difference in my skin when I use them, on like how my makeup looks and everything. But this is the skin immediately after, within like an hour or two. My skin's gonna be basically back to normal. You can use red light therapy. I wouldn't use it immediately after when my skin is looking like this because it can just be too much. But red light therapy is amazing for cellular activity, ATP production, mitochondria, all of that. It's just really great. So I will definitely be doing some red light therapy maybe before bed. You don't want to apply any makeup today. You just pat your serums in and that's it. You can use a very light moisturizer. I'm just going to leave my skin like this, let the serums do their thing, and definitely avoid retinols or retinoids or acids. Even vitamin C I'm not going to use tomorrow morning. I would give your skin maybe like 2-3 days just to be safe, but the day of, the night of, don't use any acids or retinols or anything too strong for the skin. Avoid that altogether. And then obviously the next morning, make sure you're applying your SPF, everything. I like to go a little bit gentle on my skincare for the first couple of days, for like a day or two. And then after that, you can just go back into your normal routine by like day 3, 4, 5. But I have been loving microinfusion systems. I think they are just such a great thing to have at home. 2 weeks from now, I'll be starting this kit right here, so stay tuned for that video. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I hope to see you guys in future videos. Bye!